Okay, let's unpack this. So you're a freelancer, right? And, Instagram is the platform. You probably share photos there already, but figuring out how to actually, build your business on it, promoting yourself without feeling like that awkward, spammy salesperson crashing the party. That seems to be the real puzzle.
It really is. I mean, social feeds can feel incredibly noisy. And trying those really aggressive hard sell tactics, the source material we're digging into today is pretty clear. That approach doesn't just fall flat, it can actually seriously damage your credibility, send potential clients running the other way, basically.
Yeah, nobody wants to be that person.
Yeah.
So our mission in this deep dive then is to pull out the core strategies from this source you shared, how to crack the code for authentic, effective promotion on Instagram, the kind that genuinely builds your business and your brand.
And, it's interesting how this material approaches it. It specifically talks about different ways to accelerate growth authentically. It even highlights resources, mentioning rapidboost.net as one tool people might look into for boosting social media profiles and getting quality clients, but without resorting to spamming. It points out there are, intentional methods for getting that initial traction that the source considers, well, legitimate ways to grow.
Huh. Fascinating that the source itself gets that specific right at the start. So how does this guide suggest freelancers can cut through all that noise? Using strategy and sincerity instead of just, shouting louder, maybe we should start with the basics. Why Instagram in the first place? Beyond just having a profile, why does it matter so much for freelancers specifically?
Well, the material lays out a pretty compelling case. Instagram's whole design is visual first, right?
Yeah.
Which is just fantastic for storytelling and actually showing your work, not just talking about it. And yeah, the numbers are huge, over 2 billion users scrolling every month. The opportunity is definitely there. But the key insight the source really emphasizes is that you need to be deliberate about it.
Deliberate.
Yeah.
Okay. And it calls the platform a real-time portfolio. That really resonates, especially for a freelancer.
It's a powerful way to think about it, yeah. Think about it whether you're, say, a web designer, a copywriter, photographer, consultant, whatever. You're not just showcasing a finished project. The source really stresses illustrating how you work, your process, your thinking behind it. And that transparency, it's incredibly valuable for building trust with potential clients. They're hiring you, your brain, your way of doing things.
Right. They're investing in your expertise in that specific process, not just buying something off the shelf. And this material points out a crucial shift needed, moving from being passive to proactive.
Absolutely. A static account that just kind of sits there waiting for clients. It's just a missed opportunity. You need to actively invite people into your world, the kind of authentic self-promotion the source advocates for. It means generously sharing your journey, showing how you tackle common client problems, and really highlighting what makes your approach unique.
Okay, so before we even get to posting content, the foundation needs to be solid. The source really hammers this point. Optimize your account before anything else. What's step one?
The very first impression, your bio. The material argues it needs to be instantly clear, like bang, who do you help? What specific service do you provide? And crucially, that unique reason. Why should someone choose you over the next person?
Why hire you? The differentiation
Yeah.
piece. Yeah. And the source gives specific pointers, right?
Yeah.
Like using keywords for your niche and having a clear, clickable call to action.
Yes, exactly. The CTA can't be hidden or vague. Examples given are pretty straightforward things like book a discovery call or see my portfolio, maybe even just DM me for rates. And this is critical, the link in your bio should go straight to your website, or even better, a landing page that's tailored specifically for people coming from Instagram. Make that next step super easy.
Frictionless. Got it. What about all the essential info someone might look for, but you don't want cluttering up your main feed, like testimonials or maybe pricing info?
That's exactly what highlights are for, according to the source. They function like these little curated folders for key information. So testimonials, case studies, FAQs, maybe even a section explaining your typical workflow. It just stops potential clients having to scroll endlessly to find answers, and it quickly shows your value and credibility. Smart use of space.
Okay, so bio-optimized, highlights curated.
Yeah.
What about the overall visual feel, the brand look?
Consistency is paramount. The source really emphasizes this for professionalism and brand recognition. Your profile image needs to be clear, approachable. Remember, people connect with people, not logos usually. And keeping a consistent visual aesthetic in your grid, a specific color palette or a style, maybe a filter, it helps people instantly recognize your stuff and builds that cohesive brand identity.
All right, foundation set. Now, onto the actual content. This is where we move past vacation photos to genuine value, right? The material says the heart of non-spammy promotion is content that really prioritizes connection and provides real value.
Precisely. The source strongly encourages being generous with your knowledge, sharing educational, value-driven posts. It positions you as an authority in your field, and it builds trust before you even whisper anything about hiring you.
Giving away expertise for free, I mean, that can feel a bit counterintuitive for some freelancers. Does the source explain why that actually pays off?
Yeah, it frames it as building goodwill and demonstrating your capability up front. The examples given are quite practical, like a copywriter offering 5 ways to make your About page unforgettable, or a website designer showing 3 homepage layouts that convert. These are actionable tips that prove you know your stuff without asking for anything back right then.
And carousels are mentioned specifically for storytelling, yeah.
Yes, they're really ideal for illustrating a process or showing a transformation, maybe presenting a mini case study. The source suggests using them for things like before and after visuals, or walking through your creative process step by step, or even just detailing the problem, your solution, and the outcome for a client. It's like a visual narrative that keeps people swiping.
Okay, so beyond the polished educational stuff, the source also talks about showing the behind the scenes. Why is that transparency important?
Because unlike a big faceless company, clients often hire freelancers for that personal connection, that unique perspective. So peeking behind the curtain, showing your workspace, maybe explaining your creative process, sharing a bit of a day in the life, it demystifies what you do, makes you seem way more relatable.
Like using stories for those spontaneous Q&As about your niche.
Exactly. The source points out that those real-time interactions really foster engagement. They solidify your image as an approachable expert, someone they can actually talk to, not just, a service provider broadcasting stuff.
And then there's the heavy hitter,
Yeah.
social proof.
Yeah, people inherently trust other people way more than they trust marketing copy, right? The source actually calls social proof more powerful than any sales message. This means actively sharing client testimonials, screenshots of positive feedback, tagged stories, maybe excerpts from emails. Obviously, always with permission. But the key insight here, the source stresses, is connecting those testimonials to specific, measurable outcomes.
So not just they were great to work with, but more like working with this copywriter resulted in a 20% bump in conversion rates on my landing page in just 1 month, that kind of thing.
Precisely. Those quantifiable results add immense credibility. And case studies that tell the full story, the client's initial problem, your unique fix, and the tangible results you delivered, the source advocates leveraging those heavily, they're super powerful.
And finally, the source touches on humanizing your brand. It says your personality is your superpower. Is that right?
It truly is. According to this material, it encourages sharing your personal story, your values, your passions, and yeah, even your mistakes sometimes. The example given about a freelance illustrator sharing a commission that maybe didn't go perfectly, what they learned from it, how it changed their process, that kind of vulnerability, it builds real, authentic connection. It shows you're human, you learn, you grow, it's relatable.
Sharing failures, though, that feels incredibly risky when you're trying to build trust and look like an expert. Does the source address that hesitation?
It frames it as just being part of the authentic journey. It's about showing resilience and continuous improvement, not pretending to have this perfect, flawless track record. And showcasing passion projects, hobbies, maybe pro bono work you do, side hustles, that's also recommended. The source notes these things reflect your range and your values, which can really attract clients who connect with you on a deeper level beyond just the specific service you offer.
Okay, so we're creating valuable content, showing a process, being human. But how do we actually build those relationships the source talks about? It emphasizes engagement over aggression.
Right, and the algorithm actually rewards that genuine interaction. The source points out that every single comment on your posts, that's an opportunity for a meaningful conversation, not just a quick thanks. Engage thoughtfully, ask follow-up questions, show you actually appreciate their feedback.
And it's not just about engaging with people commenting on your stuff, is it?
No, definitely not. The material really stresses the importance of meaningful interactions on other people's content, too. Engage with peers, industry leaders, and especially potential clients whose content you genuinely find interesting. Leave thoughtful comments that actually add value or ask insightful questions. Avoid the generic great post stuff. Or worse, dropping your link.
Right. Add value wherever you show up online. And the source makes a point about creating community, not just racking up followers.
Yes. Things like hosting live sessions or maybe workshops, even themed challenges like that Design Week example mentioned where you offer portfolio critiques. That shifts the dynamic. It's not just you broadcasting, you're building a two-way relationship and a sense of belonging around your expertise.
Right, okay, so we're providing value, engaging authentically. When does the actual promotion part happen without feeling, well, spammy? The source says strategic self-promotion is key, but it doesn't have to feel like a pitch every single time.
That's the nuance, yeah. The secret, according to the source, really lies in context, timing, and value. It's about shifting towards more subtle calls to action.
Subtle. How does that look in practice? Like, what's an example?
Well, instead of a really blunt, hire me now, the source suggests softer invitations. Things like, curious how I could apply this kind of solution to your business. Let's chat. Or maybe, if you found this tip helpful, perhaps a personalized audit would be useful. Feel free to DM me. It's more like an offer to continue the conversation, not a hard sell.
Ah, an invitation to explore further. And offering value up front, like those free resources or lead magnets you mentioned.
Crucial, the source argues. Offering free guides, checklists, templates, maybe mini audits through your bio link. It builds trust and demonstrates your expertise with zero commitment needed from them initially. When someone gets value from you up front, they're naturally going to be way more open to working with you in a paid way down the line. You're building that relationship first.
And framing your services through the lens of client results. The source talks about featuring client wins over just listing what you do.
Exactly. So instead of saying, I build websites, the source recommends focusing on the outcome you delivered for someone else. That example of the local bakery whose orders tripled after you launched their new site, that's way more compelling than just saying, you're a web designer. You're selling the transformation, not just the task itself.
That makes so much more sense. It's about the so what
Yeah.
and collaborating with others. Is that part of the strategy?
Yeah, partnering with complementary freelancers or brands maybe for joint Instagram lives, guest posts, or giveaways. Like the material suggests it does two really key things. One, it cross-pollinates your audience with someone else's, giving you fresh exposure. And two, it reframes you as a valuable resource within a network, not just some solo salesperson pushing their own stuff.
Okay, this all sounds great, but how do we actually know if any of this is working? The source emphasizes that smart promotion needs to be data-driven.
Right, you have to track metrics that actually mean something for your business. The material lists key indicators like your engagement rate, likes, comments, shares, saves. Also, the quality of your follower growth are these potential ideal clients or just random accounts. Clicks on your bio link are huge. And critically, tracking direct messages that turn into actual inquiries and then figuring out your conversion rate from those Instagram-led leads.
So it's definitely not just about chasing a huge follower count. It's about attracting the right people and seeing if they're taking that next step.
Precisely. And you need to actively learn from the insights Instagram itself provides. The source suggests checking your analytics, maybe weekly. Look for things like what time your audience is most active, understand their demographics better, see which content formats and topics are actually resonating the most. Then use that data to experiment and refine your strategy.
And if a post totally bombs, if a certain type of content just doesn't land.
Yeah, the source advises pivoting gracefully. Not every single piece of content is going to be a viral hit, and that's completely okay. Maybe a live Q&A didn't get many viewers, but then you turn that topic into a tutorial video and it explodes. The key is to stay nimble, learn from what didn't work, and adapt your approach based on what your audience actually responds to.
Okay, this feels like a lot to implement, but I understand the source actually provides kind of step-by-step approach to make it less overwhelming. Can you walk us through how it suggests putting this into practice maybe week by week?
Yeah, it lays out a helpful progression, which definitely makes it feel more manageable.
Okay, great. So how does it suggest starting in week 1? What's the focus?
Week 1 is all about setting the stage. Focus entirely on optimizing that bio. Get it super clear, your niche, your value proposition, and include a really compelling, actionable CTA. Then create or refresh your Instagram highlights. Pack them with essential info like testimonials, work samples, FAQs. Just build that solid foundation we talked about earlier.
Got it. Foundation first. Makes sense. What about week 2?
Week 2 shifts into planning and actually launching content. Brainstorm ideas for those valuable, educational, or behind-the-scenes posts based on your expertise. Maybe map out a simple content calendar. Aim to post consistently, say 3-4 times a week. And start mixing up the formats, carousels, stories, static posts. You'll figure out what works best later from the data.
Get that content engine running.
Oh, okay.
And week 3.
Engage with intent. This is key. Dedicate some time each day to replying thoughtfully to every comment on your posts and any DMs you get. And crucially, the source says, spend time commenting meaningfully on maybe 7-10 profiles of potential clients, peers, or industry leaders daily. Actively spread that engagement outwards.
Right, being present and valuable on other people's curve, too. So what's the focus for week 4, then?
Week 4 is when you start dipping your toes into testing those subtle CTAs we discussed. Begin incorporating gentle invitations to connect, to learn more into some of your posts and captions, and make sure that lead magnet, that free resource you're offering, is super easy to find and access via the link in your bio. Start guiding interested people towards that next step.
And then beyond that initial month, it's not just set it and forget it.
No, absolutely not. The material emphasizes this is very much an ongoing process. Review your analytics weekly. See what's actually driving engagement, link clicks, those valuable inquiries. Double down on what's working. Don't be afraid to experiment with new content types or strategies. Keep rotating that mixed educational stuff, behind-the-scenes glimpses, client wins, personal insights. Keep it fresh.
So when you boil it all down, the core message from this material really seems to be that authentic growth just wins out over aggressive, spammy selling in the long run.
Absolutely. The source makes a really strong case that promoting your freelance services effectively on Instagram, it's less about shouting louder than everyone else. It's much more about becoming an indispensable resource and a trusted connection for your ideal audience. Focus on sharing your unique story, celebrating those measurable results for clients, and just consistently providing real value. If you do that, your profile naturally becomes a destination people want to visit.
It sounds like the recipe really involves building that impeccable foundation first, then consistently sharing actionable, valuable content. Being genuinely responsive and engaging, using those subtle invitations instead of hard sells, really highlighting client successes, and constantly analyzing and adapting based on what actually connects.
Yeah, keeping it human and consistently valuable, that seems to be the thread running through the whole approach.
You know, this approach really does fundamentally shift how you'd even think about using the platform, doesn't it? It moves you from just trying to constantly make a sale to genuinely focusing on building relationships and offering your expertise freely first.
It totally changes the daily practice, I think. You're not just posting and crossing your fingers for leads. You're actively connecting, teaching, sharing your process, showing how you solve problems for real people.
Which brings up a really interesting final thought to maybe leave our listeners with, drawn directly from the implications in this source material. How does shifting your entire mindset from primarily selling my services to fundamentally providing consistent value and building relationships, how does that change your day-to-day actions on Instagram? And maybe more intriguingly, what unexpected positive results might that shift actually bring for your freelance business in the long run?
That's a powerful thought to carry forward, definitely.
Well, that was our deep dive into the source material you provided on navigating Instagram as a freelancer, how to promote your services effectively without falling into those spammy tactics. We really hope you found these insights valuable.